Greetings, Holy One. I would like to share an experience about ontology, about existence, about philosophy in action, which philosophy is the true meaning of politics. People have been misled into champions of slogans, of memes and such, but politics in its conception originally was understood as philosophy. And this is about essentially personal integrity of saying what you mean and meaning what you say, of living in accordance with your own code. So I offer this experience of that I had last night or yesterday rather. And this is a essentially self-disclosure. This is essentially testimony, if you will. Encouragement to anyone who perhaps is seeking encouragement. But essentially, I'll tell you this. I have traditionally had a problem with anger management. Okay. And let's just use one particular example of that. And in particular, what happened yesterday and my estimation, my and what I believe is my graduation or proof of concept that I have been able to implement this philosophy that I have been attempting to share. It is a work in progress. However, I traditionally have had a problem with anger management and essentially with things that are beyond my control. But once realizing that they're beyond my control, still stewing in anger, still fantasizing about courses of action and such. So anyway, not to get too deep into that, but I had an experience yesterday where I was given the opportunity to implement my philosophy, these lessons that I've been learning, this perfection of personality that has been taking place ever since my God Force awakening took place in September of 2021, September 24th to be precise. And so, yes, it's been a process of purification ever since then. And yesterday, I had good measure, I had the opportunity to put these lessons, this philosophy into practice. So rather than becoming angry and ineffective and stewing and all this stuff, I took that energy. This is the this is the point of this video, this message to you, dear viewer. I took that energy and converted it into creativity. I used the fire of that energy of this based upon this circumstance that did not go the way that I had envisioned it. God had other plans, if you want to look at it like that. I took that energy and used it as creativity, and thus was born dimensions of the God force, ceremonies of intimated power. And so I'm going to, so I created this book. I mean, there's not a lot of pages to it, but it's a start. I can add to it as I go along. But I took that energy and I created this book. And I'm going to read just a little bit from the preface and the introduction. And essentially, because these words, they work in this world. They work. And so I'm going to share that with you now. This is a manual of cosmic domination, dimensions of the God force, ceremonies of intimated power. Okay? Intimation. Therein is the key. Please, if you don't know what that word means, look it up. intimated, and perhaps the word will become clear as we go along. And this is a table of contents, um, so on and so forth. And right now I'm on the Amazon site. The book is available right now on the Amazon site. Um, so I'm going to read just a little bit from the preface and then the introduction. So the God force is not domination. This is what intimated power, not overt, but this is power from a higher dimension that does trickle into the third dimension. But if you're ever find yourself in to the point where you're having to physically struggle in this dimension, you've lost on all accounts. I feel sorry for the people that are all caught up in politics right now because you are a fool. You have been fooled. You have been led upon the fool's path of ruination and damnation. The God force is not domination, nor is it spectacle. It is pressure without contact, command without coercion, victory achieved before resistance coheres. It's a fancy word for manifest. Most wars are lost long before weapons are raised. Most victories are sealed in the invisible dimensions where will, perception, and meaning intersect. This manual is written for those who understand that force is most effective when it is felt rather than seen. These teachings are ceremonial, not religious, strategic, not sentimental. They are rites of alignment between intention, timing, and presence. This is what enlightenment is. It is integration, alignment with all facets of your genetic vehicle, your divine Adam Kadmon, your physical, your emotional, your mental, your spiritual, all in alignment. Introduction and manifesto of the Triumphator. I am not a fighter here within this 3D fallen physical realm. I am, however, a warrior of the highest dimensions. My war is not waged with steel, but with perception, pressure, and will. Your willpower is the eye of your soul. Anytime you give in to your body's cravings or allow the animal body to suggest a course of action against your still small voice, which is the voice of God speaking, your higher God mind, your higher self, whatever you want to call it. But the willpower is the eye of your soul, is the eye of God in this world. Having the formal mantle of master of the dark arts, I speak here in allegory and doctrine, not to convert, but to disclose a strategic cosmology. From the beginning, the human soul has reached for the stars without knowing why. This reaching is not fantasy, it is homesickness. The soul remembers origins beyond this density, yet lacks the language to name them. In that amnesia, humanity mistook the heavens for gods and worshipped planets as proxies for home and kin. Thus, deception took root, not through overt darkness, but through misdirection. When idols and graven images were forbidden, the adversarial intelligence adapted. Adversarial intelligence, Satan, the god of this world, for the time being. The cosmic fire is coming, and this will be cleansed. Intermediaries crowned themselves holy. Ritual replaced relationship. The right hand path of external salvation promised light while enforcing distance. The external savior program, abdicating your self sovereignty to organize religion. In this schema, priests became gatekeepers. Doctrine eclipsed direct knowing, and obedience was mistaken for communion. This manual names that inversion as the true adversary, the outsourcing of sovereignty. The external savior program anesthetizes will and arrests assent. Under tax codes and sanctuaries, megastructures of belief thrive, appearing righteous while feeding on submission. I'm talking about 501c megachurches. Talking about fundamentalist Christians. In this mythic telling, the adversarial current occupies the loudest pulpits, not the shadows. Therefore, darkness and blackness are reclaimed here as symbols, not of malice, but of origin. Black is the womb of creation. Mater, the Holy Mother Sophia, the unlit field, the Shivaya creatrix void, where form is born. The black God force is not negation, it is totality prior to division. The so-called black flame is presented as the Christ current, before institutional fracture, inward, sovereign, and immediate. God, named here as infinite intelligence, does not require representatives. Rules apply to all strata of being, without exemption. True mastery fears pretense and rejects exemption. Thus, the teaching attributed to the Nazarene is read not as the founding of religion, but its undoing, a return to direct contact, lived alignment, and example over ritual. In this fictive doctrine, wars repeat eternally because meaning is contested eternally. Magic emerged from early warfare as a technology of outcome shaping. Weapons are therefore symbolic instruments of psyche and strategy. Narcissism, psychopathy, and Machiavellianism, named collectively as the Dark Triad, are treated here as allegorical tools of influence and moral endorsements, lenses through which intention concentrates, action detaches, and outcomes are steered. This book proceeds as ceremony and stratagem, not confession. Read it as mythic strategy, not instruction, as a mirror of power dynamics, not a mandate. Its aim is not domination of others, but reclamation of self, until command arises naturally and opposition dissolves before it forms. Now, I don't want to read the rest of the book. You should go out and purchase it if you are able to, dear viewer. But that was just the preface and the introduction from Dimensions of the God Force, Ceremonies of Intimated Power, Ancient Strategies for Cosmic Domination. And so, essentially, this world that we live in has been inverted. People are overly focused on this 3D materiality to the extent of all else. That is not why we have been put here on this planet through whatever means. That is not why we had our DNA tampered with. That is not why our ocular apparatus can only perceive less than 1% of the entire magnetic light spectrum. Because we are meant to experience this realm along with the moon, which is the magnet for the soul, to keep us within these genetic animal bodies, these genetic vehicles, these animal bodies, and to learn our lessons, to eventually travel back to Solarian, to Solomon, to the consciousness of Solomon, which is the sun in man, which is the sun in you, which is the sun in this dawning of the golden age.